All right, well, let's talk about this Raw show here, which actually had a very good main event, at least. I can give him that.
Yeah, that was really the saving grace. Again, July 5th, 99, Raw, episode 319. And it opens with a recap of last week with the big title win with Austin. And it showed, I don't recall this from last week, but they showed Taker challenging for a first blood match at the pay-per-view. And maybe that was, I don't know when that happened. Maybe it was on Sunday Night Heat.
There's a lot that happens on Heat, where if you don't watch Heat, you're just like baffled by what's going on.
Yep. And then we get Austin coming out to a gigantic pop for a promo accepting the first blood match. And then Vince comes out to add to the challenge. And much like Nitro, I was confused because he was beating around the bush and seemed to get lost when he made his challenge, because it felt like it was going to be a loser leave town, but then the stipulations changed.
So he comes out and he goes, I've concluded that WWE clearly is not big enough for the both of us. Somebody has to go, and they have to go for good. That sounds like loser leaves town. So he says, I have a challenge for him, and I'm so confident that Taker's going to leave you a bloody mess and leave as champion, I'm willing to put it in writing that I will never, ever directly or indirectly interfere or have anything to do with Steve Austin in WWE again. If Austin agrees that when Undertaker beats him, he will not ask for a rematch, nor will he ever attempt to become the WWE champion again, ever. I was like, what? And he says he's willing to take the risk because seeing Austin with the belt makes him want to vomit. He says one way or the other could be the end of the era. If Austin is successful, neither him nor any of these people will ever see Vince McMahon again. I have no memory of this stipulation. I mean, clearly, like, they keep feuding. It's weird. He's making it very clear, like, this will be in writing. This is 100%, this is guaranteed. But, I mean, it's not.
Yeah, and he even said Austin could have his lawyer drop the contracts. You don't have to worry about loopholes.
Yeah. Weird.
But Austin accepts, and the crowd is happy because Austin is great. They plugged Rock versus Triple H in the main event in a cage, as well as some other matches, but that was the important one. And this is something I liked about the show. Right at the beginning, they plugged the main event with these two big stars in a cage, and then throughout the show, we got promos from the guys hyping the main event. It's like, I bet you
and then they delivered
rating.
The match and actually gave us a finish, although it was a little screwy.
But by everything else on these two shows, the finish was very clean.
That's true. That's true.
We got Rock in the back with Michael Cole cutting a promo where he's basically just screwing with Cole. He's putting a T-shirt on his head and telling him not to move. And it's one of those promos that if it was anybody other than The Rock, it'd probably be terrible. But it's The Rock, so it's great.
No comment.
We then got... Okay. We then go to our first match. They, I guess, again, from Heat, they show Kane giving JBL a tombstone on the steps.
Yeah.
And they're saying that he could be hurt, although they show him backstage and he's completely not selling anything. The doctor tells him he's not clear. John basically says, screw you, and throws him down. And the acolytes come out. And it's a tag team title defense.
Not just her, dude. They said that he likely sustained a concussion. He's not cleared by the doctor, but he comes out to wrestle the match anyway. 1999, everybody.
Now, didn't Billy Gunn have one of these tag belts last week?
Yeah, I have no idea what happened to that storyline.
Like maybe they wrapped it up on Heat, or maybe they just ignored it. But JBL, Ron and John of the Acolytes are the tag champs, and we get the Hardys out with Michael Hayes. Is he Doc Hendricks or Michael Hayes? I don't know which.
I think he's Michael Hayes.
Yep. And despite JBL having, the potential concussion from the steps, JBL and Ron just beat the holy hell out of these two guys. They give them a couple moves, but they really don't sell for them at all. They beat the holy hell out of them until finally Jeff Hardy gets a cane and breaks it over JBL's head.
His concussed head.
His concussed head. He staggers into a tornado DDT and gets dropped on his head. And Matt Hardy makes the cover, and JBL kicks out on like 3.1. And the Hardys win the tag belts, and they're selling it almost as much as the B team does when they get a win now. And the announcers put this over as the greatest upset of all time because, you don't want these kids to get over. It's a classic case of they got the win, but they didn't actually get put over, in my opinion. And you get what you get, but this wasn't too much of a match.
Yeah, but you know what? These young Hardy boys, they went from jobbers, young star in their eyes jobbers, to the WWF Tag Team Champions. And they're so happy. They've been dreaming about this their entire lives. And in fact, after the match, they go to commercial, and they cut backstage. And whoever's doing the interview goes, "Michael Hayes, what do you have to say?" And Hayes goes, No. Talk to these men. It's their night. And they go to Matt, and he says, "For my entire life, I have been imagining, dreaming, what it would be like to hold these WWF Tag Team Championship belts in my hands." And he's sitting here, and keep in mind, he probably has been dreaming for his entire life what it would be like to hold those WWF Championship belts in his hands. And what do? They cut away to GTV for a stupid segment with Droz and Albert. I was like, dude, can you just let the guy be happy? Answer is no. Nothing could happen without something else happening at the same time.
Yep, we get similar technical problems to Hack's thing on Nitro.
Yeah, maybe Hack was responsible for this.
Oof, somebody was responsible for it. I guess on Sunday Night Heat, the Godfather and Val Venus defeated Droz and Albert, and as the stipulation, they have to dress up as hoes. So this is in the locker room while they're putting on their dresses and their wigs and their makeup, and Droz is into it a lot more than Albert is, and Albert's getting hot because Droz seems to think it's pretty cool with his makeup and putting his dress on, and he shaved his legs, and this is just brutal.
Now, keep in mind, before they came out, I believe this was right after the Hardys match and before the Hardys promo, Jim Ross knows that that match is next with Droz and Albert, and he promises that when we come back, quote, "You'll see the damnedest hose you've ever seen." And I actually didn't know that he was talking about Droz and Albert, so I thought he was referring to the debuting Lita.
Yeah, the next match is Gangrel and the Godfather, and Godfather comes out with two hoes, one of which is in fact Lita.
That's right.
They don't acknowledge it's Lita. She's basically in her ECW gear. She's got her big combat boots on with her shorts and her small top, and she's just one of the two hoes that comes out with Godfather. Where are we going here? Yeah,
she looks
Godfather brings out Val because
she looks painfully like she's supposed to be doing like the sexy dance, and she's, I don't know, just clearly didn't want to be doing that, but hey, it was a role.
Yep, she just got hired. She's gonna do what they tell him. Godfather brings Val out because he was part of the angle, and then they introduce the other hoes, and Droz and Albert have to come out, and Albert's got a really hairy back, and it's not a good-looking man in a dress.
No, not at all. Yeah, so it started with Godfather comes out, two hoes, one of whom is Lita. She looks very uncomfortable dancing. Godfather calls out Val, introduces Droz and Albert. I mean, imagine watching this having no idea what's going on Heat. Flabbergasted. Then we have Godfather and Gangrel. Everybody's at ringside. Godfather wins a nothing match. Droz and Albert attack Val. Gangrel takes out Godfather. Edge and Christian make the save. So for historical purposes, in Lita's very first segment in WWE, Edge was there, but not Matt Hardy. How about that?
You're the only one that noticed that.
I noticed that, all right.
I did pop, and not in a legitimate way, for the finish. The finish was the Godfather missed a leg drop. And then Gangrel missed an... Oh, sorry, no. Yeah. And then Gangrel missed an elbow drop. And then Godfather just hit the leg drop again. It was like, oh, miss your finish? Miss your finish? I'll hit mine. And he won with a leg drop. Not exactly Hogan-esque, but Yeah, just a complete 1 minute waste of time just to have draws and Albert in a dress. We then got Test and Steph backstage, and it's just jarring how much Steph has changed. She's so young and so, to be honest, terrible as a performer here. And I know a lot of people don't like Steph today, but she is a phenomenal performer now, and it's amazing how much she's grown up.
She's a better performer now, but I don't think it's what the company needs for Heat.
No, I'm not arguing that, but she's certainly better at her job. We then got Test versus Joey Abs, and am I the only one that thought Joey Abs looked like a fat Canyon?
Kind of.
I thought it was Canyon at first, but he's just a bit heavier.
There's an even more uncanny appearance coming up here soon.
All right. Test jump starts with a spear on the stage. This, and actually a lot of the matches on this show were like this, where it's just back and forth big moves where they just take turns. Nobody sells anything that happened to them before once they're on offense again. Test hit a pretty cool sit-out choke slam that was good. And then Shane came out on the Steph with his sister in tow, basically dragging her out against her will for a distraction from Test. And the entire posse jumps on Test for the DQ, and they beat down Test and make Steph watch.
Yeah, at least Joey Abs can work. That's all I got out of this.
And then we got Raw's version of Eddie Guerrero.
Oh my God, this storyline.
Yeah, Chyna and Hunter are in the parking lot with cops, and Chyna's car has been vandalized, and she's cutting a promo saying that she saw X-Pac and Road Dogg vandalizing her car. She wants them arrested, and just freaking out, saying that her car is ruined, it's trash. She wants them arrested and tells the cops to go find them and lock them up. So
she's out there she's losing her mind. She's being so uncooperative with the cops, being very, very rude, screaming at them that they have to either take care of this or she's going to take care of it. Hunter is there just trying to calm her down. He's just the guy he's just hanging around the crazy woman, and he's got to be the level-headed one. And I'm just like, this is so dumb. Like, there's no evidence of anything. She's just claiming that her car got vandalized by these two guys. There's no security footage. There's no witnesses except her. And I'm watching this next match coming out, or it was actually later. But anyway, I'm just thinking, are they going to really have these cops come down in the middle of this match and arrest this guy in the middle of a match with no evidence whatsoever that he's done anything? And in fact, they did. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, and they're stepping Hunter up to be like a legit main event player. Why is he involved in this
I have
shit?
no idea.
We go back in, and D'Lo Brown is cutting a promo, challenging Al Snow to a hardcore match. Al slides in behind him and just waffles him in the head with a metal tray. And we get your standard hardcore match. They brawl out into the people.
I must disagree, Lance. Your standard hardcore match is boring. This, at least they went up and down the escalator. They hit each other with shrubbery.
Al slid down between the escalators. He got thrown over the one railing and landed between them and slid down.
D'Lo choked him with a phone cord and gave a 1-800-COLLECT plug, which, by the way, can you imagine how old we were? Or we are now? 1-800-COLLECT? I vividly remember those stupid commercials. Nobody calls collect anymore. It's ridiculous.
Nobody uses a payphone anymore.
No, there's a shovel involved. They fight in catering. This was way more exciting than usual. Al jumps off a forklift for the finish. I mean, as far as WWE stupid hardcore matches go, this was a 7 out of 10, I'd say.
All right, you missed the Midian interference.
Oh, that's right. Midian shows up with his European title on.
Yeah, and accidentally knocks some tables over on D'Lo. Al puts him on a table, goes behind the curtain, gets lifted in a scissor lift, and then jumps off and puts D'Lo through a table to retain. If you like absurd spots brawling through a building, yeah, I'll give this one thumbs up for sure.
And hey, quite frankly, David Flair is a better U.S. champion than Midian is European champion.
Okay, but
at least he holds a win. He holds a win over the world champion. What the hell has Midian done? He got it out of Shane's bag, and Shane didn't even know it was gone. It's been weeks now.
Yeah, and this next segment, the Cups are backstage looking for X-Pac and Road Dogg, and you know this was done on purpose.
Everybody howled.
Everybody says they haven't seen them, and then when everybody else leaves, Howard Finkel stooges them off.
I died. It was so good.
I love Howard, but you know they made him the stooge on purpose.
Of course they did. Of course they did.
We then got the Rock Beefaroni Chef Boyardee ad. Can you imagine how much Chef Boyardee would pay to get the Rock to do ads for them now?
Oh, man.
Ad was great because the Rock is awesome. We then got Road Dogg versus Val, and they're playing up that Val is hurt from his earlier altercation. This, too, is just a back-and-forth match. No selling stuff, just taking turns doing things. Dogg's making the big comeback, and out come the cops. X-Pac's already in cuffs, and they just come out and cuff him and arrest him and leave. And I guess I don't know what the finish was. Perhaps the match is still technically running, but the cops arrested them and took them away.
Terrible. Just stupid. Idiotic.
Yeah, and then we have Chaz.
Oh, my God. It's Chaz versus Jeff Jarrett. They've given him a last name this week, Warrington, which is his real last name. They acknowledge he's a former headbanger. He's out there wrestling in his boxers for some reason. Deborah and Mariana get in a catfight. Chaz is distracted. Jarrett pins him with the stroke, which I believe is the first time I've ever seen him use that move, actually, now that I think about it. And so, right there, the Chaz experiment lasted exactly as long as Beaver Cleavage. They've already given up. Jarrett goes to lay him out with a guitar, and who should make the save but Justin Credible? I couldn't believe my eyes. But it turns out it's Thrasher in his street clothes, a large gut, and a fanny pack. They're going to put the headbangers back together again. Are you kidding me?
You didn't mention, this is an Intercontinental title match.
Oh, my God. Help me.
The best line is JR says Chaz might be rusty because he's been inactive for some time. And I'm like, then why is this dude getting an IC title match if he's rusty and inactive? What a horrible match.
Hideous.
Yep. We then get Cole backstage literally for no reason. It's like a 10-second segment where he says he's going to interview somebody later in the show. Up next is Edge versus the Big Boss Man. Edge coming through the crowd, and you can tell Edge is starting to get over as a babyface. The crowd was really getting into him.
Comes out, quick match. Was it me, or did it look like Edge was trying to go behind for a cradle, but he just speared the guy and pinned him? I mean, maybe he's been using the spear, but the finish just looked kind of funny, and it was weird.
Yeah, one of them wasn't expecting it to be the spear then. I don't know what. Bossman didn't even leave his feet really on the bump. So the spear came out of nowhere and, quite honest, looked pretty crappy. But it was a basic match that was fun starting out. And then the spear just came out of nowhere. 1, 2, 3. And then Bossman gets up and dummies Edge, cuffs him to the ropes and starts beating the hell out of them with the stick. And then Christian, his good buddy, comes down, bumps Bossman and grabs the keys, and then goes to save Edge but doesn't pay attention. And Bossman,
what an idiot,
dummy him from behind too. So he ends up cuffing them both and beating the shit out of both guys all by himself.
And the whole key is no Gangrel. He's mad at his boys.
Yep. And then Cole is getting the interview he promoted earlier. Triple H in China wanting to press charges on Pac and Road Dogg. And then Hunter finally cuts his promo on Rock. But to me, it didn't really seem to make a whole lot of sense. I don't know. His promo didn't really do anything for me. And again, I'm wondering why this guy who they're stepping up to the main event is involved in this other dumb angle.
It's not only that, but it's amazing that WWE has The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin, and they're building up Triple H for the championship. Which I guess Rock and Austin are both babyfaces, so you need a strong heel, but it's mind-blowing. He's totally not ready for that spot right now.
Nope, but he's getting it. And it's
sure
funny
is.
when JR keeps referring to Hunter and Rock as these young guys, because it's like, we still have 2018 eyes, and we go, these are big stars, but it's like, I guess they're just young guys in 1999. We then get the Ass Man with China against Meat with PMS. I can't believe I just said that sentence. Meat in his underwear tights just looks ridiculous. Again, they're just taking turns with moves, no transitions whatsoever. And then Gunn hits a huge famouser. That dude can jump. He gets the win. Jackie's up in Gunn's face. China gets her from behind. DDT's Jackie. Billy then DDT's Meat. And they lay them out and they get out the spray cans and start spray painting their backs. And JR, I guess I didn't catch it at first. I guess JR was trying to say, hey, this reminds him of what happened to her car. But he hits the line about, wow, this is so original. And I'm just thinking, it's like, yeah, you're copying the NWO.
That's what I thought he was talking about.
Yeah, me too. And I'm like, wow, way to bury your company. And then he mentions that seems to be the same spray paint color that was on her car, hinting that she may have done the damage to get the guys falsely arrested.
Oh, man. She's going to go to prison for this one.
This was blatant NWO ripoff.
Yeah, and Meet another in a long list of tall, normal-looking dudes with good physiques that WWE has tried and failed with.
Yeah, he goes to WCW not too long in the future. We then get Big Show and Bob Holly versus Kane, and I guess it was supposed to be X-Pac, but he's on his way to jail. One thing that I thought was funny, you could see the spray paint still on the canvas because I guess they hadn't started changing canvases between every segment, so it's weird to see a dirty canvas. So it's a 2-on-1 handicap match, I guess. Kane and Show start trading lows. Kane throws a drop kick that I think was blessed with a favorable camera angle because I don't think it was very good, but we couldn't tell. Taker and Paul Bearer come out on the stage to distract Show. Show just stands in the ring staring at Taker while Kane beats up Bob Holly behind him. And Kane beats Bob Holly and gets the win. And then Kane and Taker jump Big Show and beat the holy hell out of him. And then Kane leaves. Taker goes and grabs a chair and waffles this poor bastard right in the head, completely unprotected, right in the forehead with a chair, super hard. Show gets color to get over the fact, I guess, that the Undertaker can draw blood to hype the first blood match, but just waffled this poor bastard right in the head.
Just waffles this guy. Get over the first blood stip. I don't know. It's 90s, dude. They were just killing each other. Literally and figuratively.
Yeah. Next up is our main event. They lower the cage. And again, I didn't make copious notes of this match. It was a long match. It was a good cage match. It's escape only. They really put over these two young guys. And I did laugh when it was basically a win here will really help them in the rankings.
Yeah, the rankings.
Of getting a title shot one day.
Yeah, so what happened was they're in there and China hands Hunter some handcuffs and he waffles a Rock in the head. And after the chair shot to the Big Show, I thought, well, Rock's got to get color here. Nope. Will not cut his pretty head. So he gets pummeled with these handcuffs over and over again. He sells. Finally, it's an arm drag off the top, goes to escape. China rams the ref into the cage, slams the door on Rock, helps Hunter out. He should be the winner, but there's no referee. So Rock goes after him, drags his ass back to the cage. The ref is still down. The match continues. They're brawling up top. Hunter gets a chair, waffles a Rock in the head with it. He goes to climb down, but slips and crotches himself, gets his foot caught in the ropes, manages to get free. It's a photo finish, but because Rock is going down the side, his feet hit first, and because Hunter is going out the door, his head hits first, and so therefore Rock wins the photo finish and the match. It was a very good match. Good cage match. They've had a long feud. Seems like, I don't know, Rock's next in line? No, Hunter's getting the title here after a while, but I liked the match. And then Mr. Ass ran down and gave Rock the fame asser on the floor, and they double-teamed the Rock as the show went off the air. Very good main event. It left a good taste in my mouth for that Raw, unlike Nitro, which left a bad taste in my mouth even though they had the West Texas Rednecks doing a concert.
Yeah, that's a couple weeks in a row that Raw's delivered a really good main event, and Nitro has delivered a complete shitfest fiasco. So Yeah, this was a great main event. Best thing on either show, which is really why I assume, Raw is doing much better. 2 hours with a great finish as opposed to 3 hours with a bunch of shit.
WWF Retro Raw number 320, also July 12th, 1999. Steve Austin comes out for a promo. He says his attorneys have drawn up a contract for himself against The Undertaker in the first blood match at Fully Loaded. And if he wins, we will never see Vince McMahon again.
So, for those of you that haven't been on the board, and yes, this is a spoiler for 19 years ago, I heard this last week when they announced it. The stipulation is if Austin beats The Undertaker, he's out of there. Forever, they said. And if Undertaker wins, Austin can never compete for the WWE title again or even attempt to compete for it. Those are the stipulations, okay? I don't remember this. And as it turns out, the idea at the time is that the feud is ending. Like in Vince's mind, he is ending the feud with Stone Cold Steve Austin because Steve Austin is going to win this match at the pay-per-view, and Vince is going to, disappear. That was the idea behind it. Now, obviously, it didn't happen, and they continue feuding for years, and they team up and all the other stuff that goes on, but apparently at the time, that was Vince's thought. This thing has run its course, and we gotta write it out a storyline. Can you imagine? Especially because when you watch this opening segment, they're so good together. And here's Vince thinking, this shark has jumped. I've got to get rid of this. I got to get off television. I'm too old. Goddamn.
So he calls Vince out to sign the paperwork. And I guess this actually happened, but apparently Vince was in a motorcycle accident.
Actually, I don't even know what the real story is.
I don't know what the story is, but I can tell you what happened here was that Vince comes out in a motorized wheelchair. And if this was not a legit injury, if this was a legit injury, they should have fought to put him in this wheelchair before. Vince coming down in this chair, and his expression is so stern, and he hates Steve Austin, and he pushes his little joystick forward, and his machine very slowly going down the ramp. His music's playing, everyone's cheering, or booing, I should say, but it just takes him forever to get down there, and it's so funny. So they've got like a little card.
Well, don't forget, Vince has done the wheelchair gimmick before. When remember he got his leg destroyed by the Undertaker or whatever it was.
That's right.
Vince in a wheelchair is always awesome.
It is. So they got a little card table out there, and Austin says, "Here's the contract. Sign this." And Vince, he pulls out his spectacles. You cannot call them eyeglasses. These are spectacles. Places them on the edge of his nose so he can look down the contract. He insists Austin sign it first. Austin demands Vince return the Smoking Skulls belt, sign this contract, and suddenly the lights go out and Kane's music hits. So Austin pushes Vince up the ramp a little bit. He's using Vince as a shield for when Kane comes out, but it is a trap by the Undertaker. The Undertaker shows up behind Austin and lays him out with the Smoking Skulls belt. So it appears they're doing the Kane Undertaker cahoots angle all over again.
Well, there is that. A couple of things. First off, Austin says he will sign the contract as soon as Vince returns the Smoking Skull belt. So, I mean, the show ended and Vince never brought it back. So apparently, that's still something that's up in the air. The other thing is, the whole key to him getting bloodied up by Undertaker is it's a first blood match. And so last week's show, this week's show, twice on this week's show, Austin's bleeding everywhere because the idea is this guy's fucked. He has no chance here in this first blood match. He'll need a miracle to beat The Undertaker. So it's doing a good job building up the pay-per-view. And Vince also signed the contract in Austin's blood, which I'm not sure is legally binding.
We should get a lawyer on the show and ask. But yes, Vince passes a fountain pen to The Undertaker, who uses it to fill it with Austin's blood, and Vince signs. Hey, you know what? The nonsense with Kane aside, this is a very good, very solid angle with three great performers. It all made sense. Everything about this was good.
Yeah, I liked it.
So after the break, Austin is yelling at the doctors to stitch him up so he can take care of business. Edge versus Gangrel.
If you only watch Raw, you miss so much. All we know is that Gangrel, Edge, and Christian were together, and then one day they weren't together, and then Gangrel was looking at them from the crowd, apparently with a look of disappointment. We don't actually know that, except for Vinny. He somehow figured that out. Everyone else is just, we're listening to the announcers. And now, randomly, here they are just having a match together, and fucking Gangrel throws him in a hole.
So
what?
They showed Gangrel. They showed that's what happened. That's what happened. They showed Gangrel turning on Edge on heat in a tag match, but no one knows why. Jim Ross theorizes perhaps Gangrel is jealous that Edge is so popular all over the world. To which Lawler asks, "Are you trying to tell me Edge is more popular than Gangrel?" I laughed and I laughed and I laughed and I laughed. They had a fun little TV match. Nobody cared about it. There was a spot where Gangrel went up top and Edge was supposed to cut him off, and Edge forgot. So poor Gangrel was up there for 10 seconds trying to pretend he could not climb to the top rope. And he trips and he slips. Just looking at the biggest geek because Edge wouldn't come cut him off. And they brawl up on stage where the Ring of Fire, see, that's what they should call it, the Ring of Fire. It's still burning over on the side of the stage. And Gangrel throws Edge through it. And Jim Ross says he threw Edge into that burning hole. He's very concerned, Jim Ross is, because Edge has thrown through, he's gone through fire and he's fallen, perhaps literally to hell. He wants to know that Edge's life is safe. No one else does. And they immediately cut to the backstage, to the back. Austin is now bitching at the doctor who is stitching him up. Wants him to hurry.
That's right.
He announced Jesse Ventura will be taking part of SummerSlam. There'd be a press conference soon. They hinted that Jesse would actually be wrestling, which was, of course, ridiculous.
Yeah, they're pushing he's going to be in the ring.
Yes.
Well, he was in the ring.
DX's music played. They did not come out. They cut backstage, where apparently Howard Finkel had told the cops where to find Road Dogg.
Oh my God, you missed it. It was so awesome. Howard Finkel's his reputation is that he's a stooge. Like, this has always been one of the stories in wrestling. Howard Finkel's a stooge. So last week, Chyna's car is vandalized, and she calls the cops. And the cops go backstage, and they're asking, I think it's Patterson, Briscoe, and Finkel. They're like, do you guys have any idea where X-Pac and Road Dogg are? And they all say no. And so the cops walk away, and Patterson and Briscoe, or whoever the guys were, they walk one way. And Howard Finkel, he sees them go away, and he sneaks over to the cops and he goes, "They're down over there in that room." I howled at that angle last week. So anyway, later in the show, Chyna and Triple H or whoever, they come out and they tag some people with spray paint. And of course, her car had been spray painted. So we're supposed to believe that she, I guess, filed a false police report. She vandalized her own car, blamed it on Road Dogg and X-Pac, who fucking got arrested in the middle of a match. There's no evidence whatsoever that they're actually responsible for this, aside from her word. And so they end up getting taken, as Road Dogg claims on this show, to fucking prison. And so now here they are back this week. They find Howard Finkel. They tar and feather the guy for stooging him off. And all I could think was, that's the payoff to that whole angle.
I guess so.
Road Dogg and X-Pac, they didn't say, hey, clearly Chyna did this. Why isn't she being arrested for filing a false police report? No follow-up whatsoever to this fucking storyline.
All I know is they're back there, they're tar and feathering Howard Finkel.
They're tarring and feathering Howard Finkel in 1999.
Yes. And I don't want to alarm any of you, but it was worked tar, whatever this was, because instead of being sticky, it was actually quite slippery. Road Dogg is standing over, Howard's down on his knees, he's covered in whatever his fluid is, and they're putting feathers on him, and Road Dogg is shaking this pillowcase over him, and suddenly he slips and falls to his ass. And I had no idea what happened. I had to watch it 3 times. He just disappears. And then he jumps back up, and he points at the ground, and he shouts, "Watch out for it! It's slippery over here!" I laughed, and I laughed, and I laughed, and I laughed, and I laughed. This is the funniest moment in maybe all of 1999. I can only assume it has been forgotten because there's 700 things happening on every episode of Raw, and you can't keep track of it all. This was so goddamn funny. X-Pac's cackling. Howard's probably laughing under his feathers. So they finally come down to the ring. A fan has a sign saying Jericho WWF bound. Yeah, good one. They cut their promo. Road Dogg says, "We bleed neon green." And he looks at X-Pac, who is not even wearing neon green, and they both just shrug and keep running their mouths. Kane comes out. X-Pac says Kane cannot let his brother manipulate him. If you're involved with Taker, I want nothing to do with you. You have to make a choice. And before Kane could respond, out come Hunter, Mr. Ass, and China. Taker attacks. He chases them all away. And he has a stare down with Kane, but he says, and somehow we could hear Undertaker, by the way. I'm not sure how that worked. But he says, "Kane, I'm your brother. I will never make you choose." And he leaves.
Oh, man, heart-wrenching. And Glenn is so conflicted.
Taker goes to the stage and looks back, and X-Pac's in the ring, and Kane is looking Kane's in the aisle looking back and forth. Just the most confused little puppy dog. Oh, it was so awesome. Val Venus and Godfather versus the Hardys.
So you missed last week's Raw. Lita debuted as a hoe, and it led to nothing, and now here he is with a bunch of new hoes and no Lita.
I assume she went to ECW for a while after this, right? So, anyway. So the Hardys, last week I am aware, they won the tag titles. For some reason, I don't know why. I watched the Hardys. I watched that match where they won the tag championships, where the Acolytes beat them and beat them and beat them, and then they lost in a flute pin, and then the Acolytes beat them and beat them and beat them some more, and the promo got cut off in the middle.
Yeah.
These are not good champions, is what I'm saying.
No.
They come out here in 1 minute. The Godfather and Val Venus beat the ever-loving shit out of them. They hit their finishes in a minute, and Michael Hayes attacks the ref, or hits the Val with a title up with a DQ.
Hey, at least it only went a minute. We didn't have to watch 15 minutes and then a DQ.
That is true, but these champions suck. And then the Acolytes come out and attack the Hardys, and now, suddenly, I don't know why, the Val and the Godfather are on the Hardy side. I have no idea what's happening.
Well, I don't know. I was going to say they were all baby faces, but I'm not even sure they are. I guess they are.
The Acolytes, well, I don't think the Hardys are supposed to be, actually.
Based on last week, I think they're supposed to be baby faces because they won the titles, they got a baby face pop, and then Michael Hayes in the interview was like, "No, this is your moment," and he hands it to them, and Matt's doing a baby. I think they're supposed to be baby faces now.
Yeah, the Acolytes just have nothing to do because they were the Undertaker's acolytes in the Ministry of Darkness. Then the ministry broke up and dissolved. So now they're just two big dudes randomly painting symbols on their chest. It's very strange. Cole interviews as the system being called the Real DX. Why did they bother having Billy Gunn win King of the Ring?
I have no idea.
It's been 3 weeks now, and all they've done is bury him over and over. He's standing there not saying a word. He is silent this entire time, as Hunter does all the talking. So he challenges Road Dogg and X-Pac, and has a line about Kane can come out too if his nose isn't stuck up the Undertaker's ass. So we go somewhere else backstage, the medic room, I guess. 30-plus minutes after Steve Austin has been attacked. The best they can do is wrap his head like a Revolutionary War soldier. I thought he'd have like a fife and drum out there. He shoves the doctor aside and storms off. We had a Tori video package. She appeared to be naked. She was flexing, and she had words like passion and I believe submissive written on her body.
Yeah, and the Observer, Dave, said that they were doing a renewed push for Tori, and he bet that within 6 months she was going to be more over than the WCW Tori. Incorrect.
Oops. No, can't win them all.
Can't win them all.
I will not deny that this promo got my attention. Jeff Jarrett and Deborah come out for a promo. Austin interrupts. Before Jeff can say really anything, he runs out and just beats Jarrett's ass. He demands a no rules, no ref fight with The Undertaker tonight. But then Big Show comes out and says, hey, The Undertaker has recruited Kane. They're back together. It'll be a handicap match anyway. I want to beat their asses as bad as you do. And he gets a fiery promo show, does, demanding a tag team match. And Austin accepts in kind. And he starts to leave, but then Jarrett gets back in the ring, tries to talk more, so Austin returns and stuns him again. And Jarrett takes a great bump.
You know, I've said this on like 9,000 shows. I'm going to say it again. This was another example of there's this goofy show, goofy shit's happening, and then all of a sudden Steve Austin comes out and the clown show's over and shit's on. The place just goes crazy for this guy. And he's no cartoon character. He's a badass. He's just, I won this no rules, no ref. I want to do tonight. I'm going to beat your ass. Big Show comes out now. He's fired up because Austin's so great. And Austin doesn't give a shit, but he says, hey, if you want to come out tonight, you can, but somebody's going to get their ass kicked. Goes to leave. Jarrett tries to start the clown show again. Austin goes in, gives him a stunner. It's just so great. It's so great. Whenever him or The Rock are out there, it's like the real deal to these fans. The rest of it's just a bunch of bullshit that happens.
Triple H, Mr. Ass in China versus Road Dogg and X-Pac and what is supposed to be Kane. They play Kane's music a couple times. He does not show up. So Hunter says, go easy on you guys. You can get out of this 3-on-2 ass kicking if you just turn over the rights to DX right now. And of course, X-Pac had 2 words to them. And then Rock's music hit, and he ran out to take Kane's place.
Oh, man, the heat that this match had because of The Rock, it was incredible. The fans are just going absolutely crazy. They're beating the shit out of X-Pac. He makes his... Actually, X-Pac made the comeback. And Rock hits the ring, people's elbow for the pin. I mean, this was just like I said, this to the fans was the real deal. Enough of the bullshit. The Rock's out there. This is the real main event superstar stuff.
So they're doing this match. In the middle of it, Ross says, by the way, have you ever an update on Edge? Is he on fire? Has he landed yet? What's going on? So the finish, everyone's running wild. Road Dogg hits Billy with a pump handle slam, would have him for the pin, but China breaks it up. X-Pac hits Billy with the X Factor, would have him for the pin, but Hunter breaks it up. Rock hits Billy with the people's elbow and pins him. He got beat 3 times in a row here.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Were you a big Billy Gunn fan back in the day, Vinny?
I was a big Outlaws fan. It's more in hindsight. I think I've said this before, but I'll say it again. I don't think Billy Gunn would have ended up being a top star because he's just Billy Gunn. He's not as good as guys like Steve Austin and The Rock and Triple H. But if you're going to make him King of the Ring, just try to follow through on it.
I bring it up because you're like a Billy Gunn historian over the last 7 months doing these retro shows. You have all of these memories of the start and the stop, and I don't have any memory of any of this. I couldn't possibly care less.
I think I was an obsessive fan with the show overall. I was not a huge Mr. Ass fan. I don't have any Mr. Ass merchandise. I'm mostly just boggled how it's like as soon as the ref counted 3 in the finals of the tournament, they realized we've made a terrible mistake, and they've just tried to
He's much worse than course. Mabel.
He's much worse than Mabel, and they have to go out of their way to make him look bad. But all that does is make the whole tournament look bad. It's such a disaster. So it was a fun match, yes, and we talk all the time. We talk about that, that Page match with Booker T on Nitro. Even if it did have a finish, it still would have gone too long. This match is too short. This could easily gone like 5 minutes longer, so it would have been a lot of fun.
And then we're back to the clown show again.
Now you tell me who looks more ridiculous here: Draws in an evening gown, or Albert in the BB blue singlet.
It's a toss-up, dude.
Because I'll be honest, I'm pretty sure Draws looks cooler. So Terry Taylor is speaking of men who have looked ridiculous before.
Well, it's 2018. Red Rooster. I'm sure in 1999 the idea was that Draws looked much more preposterous, but
I guess
that gown got Saturn over though.
Yeah, sure. So the Red Rooster is interviewing Draws in an evening gown, who issues an open challenge to anyone on the roster for an evening gown match. Taker and Kane are backstage, very clearly, unambiguously being in cahoots.
Yeah, except Kane is hanging his head sadly. He's so sad to have to choose between his brother and his good friend, X-Pac.
So Draws comes out in his dress.
That's what the cops said last week, by the way, Vinny. They were looking for Road Dogg and X-Pac.
Who said this now? The cops did?
The cops, yeah.
Yeah.
Clearly not big fans.
I hope they've been smartened up since then. So Draws comes out in his dress, repeats the challenge. Out comes Al Snow. He's singing. He's also wearing an evening gown. I guess he carries one just in case. Just in case a challenge is made, and he's always prepared for an evening gown match. But
maybe he borrowed it from Nicole Bass. Maybe she was in the back.
That makes as much sense as anything else. So Draws versus Al Snow in a hardcore evening gown match. They break out a lot of plunder and hit each other with it. Al is yanking on Val's pasties. He grabs Val's balls with thongs and yanks the dress down to win. Draws has a thong and nylons on. And then, for no particular reason, Al whacks Draws in the head with a chair and puts him through a table. Oh, there's more. Albert comes out in his baby blue singlet, hammers a big spike in the head, and leaves.
Can you imagine?
I have no idea what's happening.
Al is so upset that someone has put a nail through his fucking mannequin head's head. I'm like, get out of here. I'm a grown man. This is bullshit.
It was bullshit. Earlier today, Mark Henry was talking to a doctor who had to be at least 400 years old.
This was like the crazy... I could not even believe my eyes. So, they've tried so many things with Mark Henry. The new one is... he randomly shows up backstage and a doctor tells him, your blood pressure is very high. You've got to go to the hospital. What?
That's what happened.
What?
That is what happened. So then D'Lo and Mark are walking backstage. I guess they walked out of the building. But as they're walking backstage, they pass Hardcore Holly, who is shadowboxing, and he sees them walking away. So the Acolytes are supposed to face D'Lo and Mark Henry, but of course D'Lo and Mark Henry don't come out. So Farouk cuts a promo saying the punk asses left the building. He demands that somebody else come out there to get their asses kicked.
I believe you said kick someone's ass 3 times here in this promo.
He may have. So nobody shows up. Bradshaw says, well, we'll go pick a fight in the back then. And as they're going up the ramp, out comes Hardcore Holly. He's laughing, and he attacks them both. What a dipshit.
Yeah, that's his gimmick. He thinks he's the big shot. He thinks he's the toughest guy there. He thinks he can take on anybody. And believe it or not, it's actually starting to get the guy over a little bit.
I guess so. So they beat him, and they beat him, and they beat him, and nobody cares because Hardcore Holly has never been anything, and the Acolytes right now are just floating aimlessly in this company. Eventually, the Big Show makes a save for reasons I do not understand, and
what?
He carries Holly back.
The Big Show.
The Big Show.
With the exception of Steve Austin and The Rock, this show is all a bunch of random shit happening completely randomly. It's what this is. The fuck is a Big Show doing out here? What does that have to do with anything?
Maybe he wants to throw a car on him again. I don't know. Nothing. There's nothing I can think of that will make this make sense. It's impossible. It defies all logic. GTV shows Joey Abs hitting on Stephanie, and then Stephanie blows him off. Did you know, Bryan, that Stephanie McMahon has always been a horrible actress?
No, this is a new level of horrible. I went out with you one time as a favor to my brother Shane, but I don't want to have anything to do with you ever again. I tried. I tried.
Way too much emotion and believability.
I'm sorry. I tried.
So she speaks like a speak and spell and goes away. Test versus the Mean Street Posse in the gauntlet match.
Oh, yeah. Here we go.
Pete Gas goes first. Test destroys him, pins him with a massive top rope elbow. Rodney is next. Pete Gas has a low blow on Test before leaving, so Rodney gets a little bit of offense, but Test destroys him in a minute, pins him with a meltdown. And so it's Joey Abs' turn. And Joey Abs is a guy, he was with the Hardys in Omega. They needed a guy for this Mean Street Posse angle who could do a little bit of working. So he hits the ring, and he's a big dude. He's almost as big as Test. he was no good. His punches look like the lockups of the women in NXT, and that's bad. So Test has him in trouble. Before he can finish him off, Shane zooms in and chop blocks Test. At this point, the match just stops. I don't know if it was a DQ. I don't know if Shane was the fourth man. I don't know what happened after this. So Steve Blackman runs out and attacks Test. Ken Shamrock runs out and attacks Blackman.
Just a bunch of shit happening.
The Posse swarm Test. They're going to Pillmanize his ankle. Stephanie runs out. She grabs Shane from behind, and Shane throws a blind elbow and drops her.
Okay.
And he is, yes.
Okay, so before Stephanie runs down, while they're beating on Test, they send out geeks to break it up. So before Stephanie, Dave Hebner gets in the ring. Shane throws an elbow. He hits Dave Hebner. Dave Hebner goes down. So this was actually very, very well done. So Shane is presuming it's just another geek grabbing him. He throws the elbow, but it's his own sister, and he lays her out. Now, do you remember this, Vinny?
This specific angle?
Yes.
Not really, no.
I don't either. Okay. It was a great angle. But there's so much shit happening on every single Raw that a great angle like this gets completely lost in the shuffle. No memory of it here 19 years later. There's just too much shit going on. It was so well done, though. Everybody played their role well. Stephanie took a good bump. Shane is appalled. Like he's feeling so bad.
She's horrified.
Yeah.
She's nauseous.
It was so good. But it was completely forgettable on this show.
Yeah. Well, there was 700,000 things going on every episode of Raw. But there's nuclear heat to this. Shane carries through the back screaming for help as the posse's right behind him. But everything about this went down perfect. Test looks like a killer. He's taking out 3 or 4 grown men at a time. They got to cheat to not even beat him. They got to cheat to cut him off. And then as I don't know what the deal with Blackman and Shamrock is. I'm going to forget that he happened. But, you know, Shane's hatred, he's blind with hatred. He drops his own sister, and he's remorseful for his actions. Everything about this was great. It would have been so much better if Shane had not just spent like 4 months using his sister as a pawn to get back at, eventually, Steve Austin. That kind of hurt things.
Well, you know, I can kind of justify it. Like, in Shane's mind, he's doing what is best for himself, and he's not really thinking about her feelings, like how she's going to feel as a pawn in this game. But when he actually hits her and physically injures her with an errant elbow, now he feels really bad. I can sort of see where they're going with it.
So Shamrock and Steve Blackman are fighting backstage. And they were in Louisville, so a bunch of OVW guys to break it up. I saw Tracy Smothers. Pretty sure I saw Nick Dinsmore, Damaja. I think Flash Flanagan was there. That was fun. Cole interviews the Brothers of Destruction. The Undertaker just cut this awesome promo. This is an awesome 1980s bad guy promo. He's looking right into the camera. He mentions this match is on the July 25th. This is about 5 times. Austin's blood is going to flow, he promises. We're together as one again, Kane and I. And he's talking and talking and talking. At one point, he stops, and he looks over at Kane, and Kane's hanging his head, and Taker notices this, but then just barrels through it. He turns back to the camera and finishes his promo. He was great here. Was there a countdown to the Millennium graphic last week, Brian?
No, this was the very first one.
Yeah, the very first countdown to the Millennium, with a big giant clock counting down, which is someone did the math and realized, hey, wait a minute, that doesn't end on December 31st. That ends much, much earlier. And then the main event, Undertaker and Kane versus Steve Austin and Big Show. Okay, Steve Austin is a good guy. Undertaker is a bad guy. Kane is conflicted right now. He has loyalties on both sides. What the fuck is up with the Big Show?
Well,
I have no idea what side of the fence he's supposed to be on.
Well, it's only been 33 turns in his career, so who the fuck knows? All I know watching this match is this is another thing we've said about Austin a million times. He never half-asses in the ring. Guy's got a bad neck.
No.
He's got fucked up knees, but it doesn't matter. He's out there. He's working his ass off here in this main event. He's taking backdrops and shit on the concrete. He's just taking bump after bump after bump. He's a complete crazy guy.
So this match was it may as well have been a tornado match. It was basically two separate brawls going on constantly for like 10 minutes. I don't think they're even, sometimes there's a match at the start of the brawl and settle down into a tag match. I don't think this ever did. I think it was just four guys feeding punches all over the place for 15 minutes. And I say that, this was awesome.
Dude, Austin.
It was a great brawl.
Besides Austin.
Mainly because of Austin and Taker, but Kane and Big Show were good too.
Dude, there's a spot where the Big Show picks up Kane and he drops him like right across the dasher boards. Like not even like dropping him so his feet land on the ground and he sort of like, lands with his armpits on the dasher boards. No, he turns him sideways in the air like a press slam and drops him stomach first right lengthwise along these fucking dasher boards. I was like, I don't think Kane's ever took a bump like that in his life.
Yeah. It is amazing. The other thing about when you watch this, especially in this match, they're making Kane the plucky underdog. The Big Show. The Show's way, way bigger than him. But it's funny because it's Kane. He's selling the entire time, getting his hope spots in there, but saying Kane wrestled this match like X-Pac. It was really something to see.
We had a great spot where Austin tries to undo the turnbuckle pad and he just cannot get it I don't think he ever actually got it untied.
No, he just gave up.
Yeah.
He went to another corner. I thought I'd take that one off, but he didn't. He just gave up. Let's see what we have here. We had at one point, I talked about Kane being the plucky underdog. At one point, he grabbed Show for the choke slam, and there's a brief pause, and then Show just throws his arm away and grabs him and choke slams him instead. Show is just unstoppable here.
So here is the finish, because this is very important. They brawled. How long was this match? 10 minutes? 12 minutes?
It was like 15 minutes. It was a very good 15 minutes.
They brawl, and then in the middle of this brawl, Show tosses Undertaker outside, Kane tosses the Big Show outside, and then Austin hits the Stone Cold Stunner for the win. That was the entire finishing sequence. Like, literally, yes. I think that they went out there and they called the entire brawl start to finish in the ring. I don't think they had one fucking spot except maybe the finish. This was awesome.
It was very, very awesome. The only other thing they may have had planned, there's some large metal wrench or turnbuckle or something that Kane and Big Show keep hitting each other with, and they had a spot with that, and it was funny. And maybe it was that. Maybe it was called the ring, but Kane leaves to the weapon is in the ramp, so Kane's got to go get it. And the idea is like Taker will be standing there with his back to that side of the ring, but he doesn't know where to be. And Show and Austin are both beating up Taker. And in the middle of this beating, which goes on for a while, you can tell they're kind of talking and they're trying to get him in a position. And finally, Steve and Undertaker both just stop and point to the spot in the ring where Big Show is supposed to be. Go over there, Big Show. And he does, and Kane waffles him. And yeah, it goes on, and Austin pins Kane. That was awesome. And this show has not been very good lately. This is the best Retro Raw in months and months and months.
Well, it was a very good main event. I think other than the main event, I think Nitro was a better show overall. I really did like the Nitro show, but Raw's had good main events, and that was the whole key. I mean, we got a good main event kind of on Nitro. I mean, we actually had a finish and a new champion, and they actually tried to a degree. But I mean, 9 times out of 10, Raw will have the very good main event and the questionable undercard. And this was a classic 1999 good main event, kind of shitty undercard edition of Raw. I like Nitro better. That's my point.
This main event, when people think back to the Attitude Era of Raw and what they remember about it, this is the kind of thing they actually do remember that was awesome.
Hey, this whole show is what you should remember from the Attitude Era. Vince McMahon, Steve Austin, lots of bullshit, lots of goofy storylines, some good, some bad, The Rock, Steve Austin, a great main event, and some hardcore bullshit. This was the Attitude Era in one Raw.
It was, in fact, Extra Attitude.
I didn't watch it. I never do.
The Extra Attitude was literally 5 minutes of Steve Austin drinking beer.
Oh, that sounds exciting.
But you know what? I will say this. If you were not around for this era, or if you have forgotten how popular Steve Austin was, people went so crazy for this guy just drinking beer. They were so happy to watch him drink beer.
Oh, yeah.
It was amazing. So, in that respect, I'm actually happy I watched it.
Your finishes
Okay.
report.
The finishes on this show were: no finish due to one man entering his opponent's burning hole. DQ to break up a pin in a minute. Clean pin. Clean win in an evening gown match. 2 clean pins, and then I don't know what happened in a gauntlet match, and a clean pin.
And I want to mention, by the way, that I mean there were more clean pins than usual in this show, but it's The Rock and Steve Austin, and when they have matches, 8 times out of 10 for The Rock probably, and 10 times out of 10 for Austin, there's a clean pin in the middle of the ring.
That's true.
All the rest of these fucking geeks, they do every bullshit finish in the book. But when Austin and The Rock are out there, because they're the 2 top guys, they win. They win, they win, they win, they win, they win, they win, they win. And I'm sure the undercard guys are told, wins and losses don't matter, don't worry about it, it's all bullshit. Vince knows better, and his top guys, back in the day, they won. They did not lose. Times have changed. Maybe that's why there's not another Steve Austin or The Rock right now. That's another matter entirely.
Retro Raw, number 321, July 19th, 1999. The corporate ministry is apparently still a thing.
I guess.
Shocking news to me. They all came out. Vince is still in his wheelchair, although he was at least able to limp up the stairs into the ring this week. But then he immediately sat back down in his chair, and this cannot possibly have been an adult wheelchair. This had to have been for children. He's so down low to the ground.
He had to shoehorn his way in there.
And every time anyone comes over to talk to him, they have to bend all the way over. Like, they may as well sat on the mat to talk to him. So he's cutting this promo. He promises tonight is going to be Austin's last ever Raw appearance as WWF champion. He guarantees that Steve Austin will lose the WWF title to The Undertaker. And this is important because Vince's guarantees always came true, but they thought this was going to be the last one. So this is the guarantee that was not going to come true. So apparently, I guess he started to warn Taker about what would happen if Taker lost. Taker did not take kindly to this. He warns Vince not to threaten him. Says, I'm going to open Austin up and take his title. I'm going to do it for myself, not for you. And Vince fires back, I sign your checks. I made you who you are today. And Taker gets in Vince's face. And when I say gets in Vince's face, I mean, again, Vince's face is 2 feet off the ground because he's in this chair. So Taker has to get down on his hands and knees to threaten him. Hunter gets way, way down there to get in Vince's mic and speak up for him. I know you're responsible for all this, Vince. You're the one in charge. You made us all so great. What you ought to do is put me in that first blood match, not Taker. I'll do it for you, Vince. And finally, Vince says he books Taker versus Triple H tonight, with the winner facing Steve Austin in the first blood match for the WWF title at Fully Loaded, and the loser facing The Rock in a strap match in the same show. Taker's fine with all this. Austin's music hits. He drives a blood donation truck into the arena. He promises to lock Taker in the truck and collect a donation from Vince tonight. And he drank some beer. And that was it.
A blood donation truck.
It was a bit of a stretch.
Yeah, we've jumped the shark here with vehicles for Steve Austin.
I can't think of anything better, a better vehicle they could have used for this segment.
The point is, nobody remembers the blood donation truck.
No one does remember the
Because
blood.
we've used 55 vehicles now, and this is the lamest one.
That's probably true. Hunter and Shane tell Vince he'll be fine backstage. I'm not making this up, everyone.
Yeah.
It's the announced match. Road Dogg versus China in a dog collar match.
What?
That's what I wrote. W-U-T. What?
What?
So
I thought Gangrel and Midian as a team was fucking weird enough later in the
there's
show.
some weird shit on this. So China says, I don't want to be in a dog collar match against Road Dogg.
Sure.
Road Dogg essentially bullies her and calls her a coward and says, you and Hunter are into this kinky stuff anyway. I probably had one of these on last night. Now she's all fired up. She puts the dog collar on. Dog punches her one time. He tries to tie her up, and Billy Gunn attacks. X-Pac makes the save. This went 1 minute, and there was no finish.
You just record that and we'll just play it over and over again.
it gets no better for a while. The first hour of the show.
The first hour? Everything I wrote from the second hour was the same thing.
That's probably true. There's a knock on Vince's door, and he panics. But it's just the Mean Street Posse. So Shane and the Posse hit the ring for a promo.
These guys.
Shane says, I'm here to apologize to Stephanie for knocking her out with an elbow last week.
I saw the clips of this, thank God.
He calls her out to
I
the
can
ring.
play along.
Calls her out to the ring. And Stephanie's backstage with Test. Test says he doesn't want her going out there. She says, look, he's my brother. I promise everything will be okay. And she goes down to the ring alone. Never mind that this brother spent like 3 months tormenting and torturing her across the country, but...
And elbowed the shit out of her last time they were in the ring together.
Yeah. So Shane, he did apologize. He did say, I apologize for what happened last week, but it's all Test's fault. He starts running her down. Says, what we ought to do is dump that loser Test and give another chance to this fine man, Joey Abs.
Joey Abs.
So Joey makes his case. Doesn't go well. Steph wants nothing to do with Shane or Joey. And finally, she slaps him, tells him to keep... He's like running his fingers through her hair. She slaps him, tells him to keep his hands to herself, tells Shane and all his friends to stay out of her life. And she's storming to the back, and Shane is ranting and going off. He says, I try to do it the nice way. Now we're going to do things my way, and we're going to make sure we do things my way for your happiness, Steph. I cannot believe I'm about to say this.
Uh-oh.
Shane and Stephanie were both awesome here.
They were.
So that may have
And
never
you know what I
happened
noticed?
before or since, but they were both great here.
I don't know what this means, but when Stephanie has to be an out-of-her-mind crazy person,
She's much more believable.
she's great.
It's like she's channeling something.
When she has to be a friendly, sweet young girl, I don't believe
It's
a word
funny.
she says.
Yes.
Weird. I noticed this last week. They hired Joey Abs to be the workhorse for the Mean Street Posse. He sucks.
I'm not sure he's
Have
any
you
better.
seen the other two? I mean, God
Yeah,
bless.
If he's supposed to be the workhorse,
I made the
and-
comment last week. I'm
I
not
don't
sure he's
know
any
if
better than them.
workhorse is the right word. He's supposed to be a worker.
Okay.
They're not.
No.
So that was that. Val Venus and Godfather versus the Acolytes versus the Hardys versus Dross and Prince Albert in a 4-way match for the tag titles.
By the way, I know they pay their enhancement talent $250 a shot. They had $1,250 worth of hose here.
I'm pretty sure they paid those hoes more than $250, Craig.
Okay. You think?
Yes, I think.
Are you budgeting, Craig, and trying to think if you can find $1,250 or what?
If those women got less than 1,000 for that appearance, I'd be very surprised.
I'm a numbers guy. That's all.
Oh, all right. Well,
All right.
I won't judge. During the entrances, they showed the press conference where Vince confirmed Jesse Ventura will be the special referee for the SummerSlam main event. So, all 4 teams did their entrances during the press conference. Well, clearly this is not a live show. And then I realized the exact same Jericho sign was in the front row this week that was there last week.
Right.
And the mat was stained with blood. So no, this is not a live show. So, first fall went a minute. Godfather hits Bradshaw with a cane behind the rest back, and Val pins him. Second fall also went a minute. Val goes up top. Farouk crouches him. Jeff hits a top rope run, and Matt pins him. Oh, that's the final. What the hell's the first fall? There were 3 falls in 3 minutes here. And the Hardys are still tag
It was
teams.
ridiculous.
Bradshaw pinned Albert with a clothesline from hell. I glanced over that. Anyway, yeah. GTV, I can't believe they actually got this crew. They got the stars of Mystery Men on GTV. There's Ben Stiller, Janine Garofalo, Kel Mitchell, and Pee Wee Herman. And they're talking about Steve Austin and Deborah, and Ben Stiller starts perving on Deborah's breasts. He's going crazy about it. And Janine Garofalo is right there talking about, she thinks they're actual legit puppies, like she's working in an animal shelter. And then Ben Stiller is the only one in these skits smart enough to see a camera. And he goes to it and takes it down, and that's that.
Including the wrestlers from
Yeah.
the last few weeks.
Stuff's amazing.
It is.
It actually
To
was
look
amazing.
back on, yeah.
Jeff Jarrett and Deborah come out for a promo. Jerry Lawler had shown up late. Kevin Kelly was doing the commentary for the first half hour of the show or whatever. Much better as a commentator than Lawler was. So, Jarrett warns Austin to stay out of his way. That's it, right? Anything else of note happen
You know
here?
how funny it is to not watch the show,
And then
but
get a
listen
note.
to you like I'm in a production meeting
And try to keep
you're
track of it
Vince
all?
Russo explaining everything that's going to happen on the show.
We should rotate who doesn't watch a show each week.
Yeah. Everyone's begging for that job.
And by rotating, I mean I'll do it every week. Jeff Jarrett versus Christian. So the Brood is broken up,
Sure.
but they don't know what to do with Edge and Christian. So Christian has his own vampire entrance that is different than Gangrel's vampire entrance. Weird gothic music, candles everywhere, a poofy black shirt.
But I watched last week, but Edge and Christian are still kind of a thing.
Edge and Christian are still a team.
Okay. Why can't they? Never mind.
Use Edge's
I'm
music.
overthinking
Yeah.
it. Go ahead.
It's a hell of a production meeting.
So 30 seconds in, Christian's getting near falls. Deborah distracts the ref. Christian has the kill switch, no ref. Christian grabs the guitar. The ref pulls it away. Jeff finally hits the stroke for the win. None of these matches have gone more than 2 minutes. Lights go out. Jarrett gets a bloodbath for some reason. Edge comes out and brawls with Jarrett. Jeff leaves. Edge and Christian are very confused about this bloodbath.
Can I demand this segment be rewritten now?
If you want.
This is dumb. This show's stupid.
There was literally a 2-second shot of the Rock walking backstage.
Yeah.
I prefer the walk.
The walk rocking.
Yeah, hell of a character.
I could have done that.
You're round and hollowed out.
Guess you never run.
I see. I was talking about the cooking
I
accoutrement.
see. I meant
Show him walking for his bus as it drives off in the distance.
Try and walk the ropes.
exactly. Yeah. Hunter tells China to take care of business while he looks after Vince. Jarrett cuts a backstage promo threatening Edge for Fully Loaded.
So Jared's feuding with Austin and Edge.
Yes.
Okay.
I don't know why he thinks he's feuding with Austin.
Well, Austin beat him up.
Last week,
Yeah, destroyed him.
he beats up everybody.
Yes. Well, Jarrett's going to fight back.
I see.
Well, I mean, Austin is going to marry his wife, right? Or his
I
valet.
think it's his wife. but
Yeah,
sure.
valet.
Rock versus Billy Gunn. This match got some time. I don't know, 5 minutes.
Sure.
Finally. People are head over heels in love with Rock. So even
I'll
though
say.
they did nothing, but it was still a lot of fun because it had great heat. So Rock makes a comeback. China takes the ref. Billy bumps into China. Rock hits the rock bottom. Massive ovation. Goes to the people's elbow. China hits him with a chair. Billy follows the fame asser, and Billy Gunn pins the Rock.
That happened.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Billy Gunn
William Gunn.
Yes.
pinned Mr. the Ass Man.
Mr. Ass,
Pinned the Rock.
one of the Smoking Guns, pinned the Rock.
Well, he is the Royal Rumble winner.
King of the Ring winner.
King of the Ring, I'm sorry.
The other guy's the Rock.
Understood.
Your argument is invalid.
Understood.
Hunter sucks up to Vince for a while. Al Snow versus the Big Boss Man.
Oh, thank God.
What?
No, I missed it.
Oh,
Yeah.
No one has ever responded to Al Snow versus Big Boss Man
thank God
by
it's Al
saying,
Snow.
"Oh, thank God!" before.
Oh, thank God. I didn't watch this.
this was better than the thing they did last week.
It was.
The hardcore extreme nightgown.
I'm not saying it was worse. I'm saying they both,
whatever
were both
match.
horrible. So at the end of last week, Albert drove a spike into Head.
Right.
So Al is now going crazier than ever because Head has a spike in it.
Yes. So the mannequin head hurts. So Al is hearing voices.
I hate this.
And his head hurts, much like Bryan rubbing his temples right now.
So Al immediately he goes to the announcers and rants about whatever. He starts throwing weapons into the ring. He gets in the ring. Boss Man's got his nightstick, and Al says, hit me with the stick. And Boss Man does. The bell rings. I honestly don't know if that was to start the match or end it. Boss Man cuffs Al, beats him up for a while. I wrote, what is happening here? And they went to break. There was a 3-second shot of Vince checking his watch backstage.
This is where I picked up.
Okay.
I literally went to the exact amount of time I had left before you guys came over. And the first thing I see is a 3-second shot of Vince watching his watch.
Yes.
Then, immediately afterwards, 4 men come out. It's D'Lo Brown, Edge, Gangrel, and Midian.
You know,
pull these names out
Hold
of the
on.
hat.
The
Hold on a
No
second.
Mercy function, I believe, had a random wrestler select. That must be what they did.
I fast forwarded through these entrances, okay, because I was just trying to get through this show.
Right.
D'Lo, Edge, Gangrel, and Midian. Okay? I thought, what a weird four-way. This must be for the WWE European Championship.
That, by the way, was just handed to Midian, and he just is now.
Yes. Nobody even handed. He went and got it out of Shane's bag.
He said, can I use your belt, Shane?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So, in the middle of this match, D'Lo Brown comes off the top, splashes Midian. He's the winner. And they say, if this happens on Sunday, he will be the new WWE European Champion.
Right.
It was then that I realized this was a tag match.
It was.
D'Lo Brown and Edge
The Edge, yes.
versus Gangrel and Midian.
Right.
What?
I don't know. I also wrote, what a weird match. Now, if you watch this thing, it was a perfectly fine 3-minute tag match. It was every 3-minute tag match you ever saw, but there's nothing wrong with it. They'd also plugged the debut of SmackDown next month. So yes, D'Lo gets the pin. That sets up the European Championship match of the pay-per-view.
So Shane's just giving it up officially.
Yeah.
I guess.
Okay.
Shane does not care about the prestigious European title anymore.
Can't believe it.
And Shane does not care about Europe.
It's not. So they show Steve Austin get up and walk around. And they say, this is it. He's going to go kill Vince. They go to the break. They come back. And Austin goes to like catering. He pours himself a glass of water. And he turns to the camera and says, I'm just getting water.
That's funny.
That actually happened. Test versus Steve Blackman.
Boring match.
So, you know the spot where the one guy is down on his back and the other guy comes off the ropes and the guy on his back lifts up his foot and the guy takes
Yes.
the boot to the chin?
Yeah.
It always looks silly. They found a way to make it look sillier.
I remember this.
Steve Blackman is on all fours
Yes, and he lifted his leg like a dog peeing on a fence.
and managed to kick Test in the jaw.
Sounds awesome.
So, Test
I'll
is-
admit I fast forwarded through this match. I'm not going to lie.
I wish I had. Test is about to hit a meltdown when, you'll never guess,
The posse ran into the
Shane and
DQ.
the Posse run in for the DQ.
Dude.
They're holding Test. Shane is slapping him. Ken Shamrock clears the ring with a baseball bat. Steve Blackman he came out with a gear bag.
Sure.
And you can see like kendo sticks sticking out of
He's
there.
Jack the Ripper. He's got a little bag.
Steve-
He butchers his opponents, and he calmly walks away.
Steve Blackman pulls out bladed weapons.
I told you.
Jim Ross says those are commas. And I looked it up. That's what a comma is. It's like a mini scythe. He has 2 fucking knives in his goddamn hands. He's going to cut off
Like
Ken
tiny
Shamrock's-
sickles, really.
Yeah. They'll kill you.
Understood.
He's going to lop off Ken Shamrock's head. And they just go to break. This man's threatening another guy with knives, and they just go to break.
And the funny thing is, they come back from break and they show him calmly walking to his car.
Yeah, did he use the knives?
I don't know.
That guy dead?
I figured Shamrock was in the bag.
Parts of him were. Undertaker's walking around. The Millennium gets here in 500 some hours. Steve Blackman leaves.
God, 500 hours. That's a long time. 500 hours of Raw to get to Chris Jericho.
Well, fortunately, it's real time, so we only have to. It's only about
Oh,
400.
I see. Thank God. Okay. All right. That's a little better.
It's only 450 hours of whatever. Big Show and Hardcore Holly versus X-Pac and Kane.
Okay, so I fucking hated this. I abhorred this until the very end when it actually became really awesome.
That's fair. That's fair.
I got to give him credit.
So, X-Pac and Kane have been having troubles. X-Pac is mad at Kane for being in cahoots with his brother, The Undertaker. So X-Pac tells Kane, his tag team partner, to leave. But Kane says, I'm not going to leave, but I'll get out of your way. I'm going to go fight with the Big Show. They tried to recap all of this of what had happened on Heat. It was impossible. So Kane's brawling on the floor with both of the bad guys. Out comes The Undertaker. He hits a chokeslam on X-Pac. Not a DQ.
Street fight.
It was a street fight?
Yes.
All right. That's news to me. Let's see. Taker attacks Big Show and Holly with stairs. Not a DQ. Taker and Kane go to leave together. And then Kane stops. He turns. He doesn't know what happened to X-Pac, but he knows his buddy X-Pac is down in the ring and might be hurt. And he goes to check on X-Pac, much to the Undertaker's dismay. Undertaker goes to get Kane, puts his hand on Kane's shoulder and says, "Leave him. It's over." And Taker and Kane turn, and Kane is reluctant, but he trusts his brother. Taker says to leave him be, I'm going to leave him be. And then the production truck chooses to replay the chokeslam Undertaker did to X-Pac moments ago.
This guy's in trouble.
He knows it. He knows he's been caught red-handed. Huge grimace on his face. Kane, the wheels are turning in his big red head. He watches the video. Taker's laying out X-Pac. Turns around. X-Pac's dead. He turns around. Taker tries to apologize. Kane grabs him. Taker, for perhaps the only time in his entire career, his face goes into terror. Kane chokeslams the hell out of him. Everyone's going crazy.
A monster ovation for this.
Everyone's going crazy. Kane throws X-Pac over his shoulder. He's going up the ramp. His music's playing. Everyone's already cheering. About halfway up the ramp, X-Pac is recovered. Kane sets him down on his feet. Pac gets his bearings. He looks around. He looks at Taker. He looks at Kane. And he just gives him the biggest hug.
Place goes
And
nuts.
Kane hugs him back. And Kane and X-Pac are friends.
A young, filthy Tom Lawler shed a tear.
This is actually... I remembered parts of this. In hindsight, this is incredibly rushed.
Oh, yeah.
They did this all in like 3 minutes. It could have been 5 or 10 easy.
Yeah.
But it was still awesome.
It was so good. The crowd made it even better.
And this is where Kane learned how to hug.
And it was a happy ending.
It was a happy ending.
That was the most notable thing about it.
It was amazing, actually.
I was like, you know what? When they do happy endings, like people are really happy. It'd be kind of cool to
Let me
like
write that down.
do them more often.
Triple H versus The Undertaker.
I watched 1 minute of this.
It was good, but it was every Undertaker match I ever saw. So halfway through, Steve Austin grabs a cameraman and says, "It's time."
Oh, by the way, this is the same Undertaker that just got chokeslammed straight to hell by Kane 5 minutes
That
earlier.
is true, yeah.
Just saunters out for this match with Hunter. Hey, I'm ready to go.
That did happen. So Austin just hits the ring and attacks Taker for the DQ. Rock runs out to brawl with Hunter. Place, again, is just going insane.
Yep.
Every fan is just losing their shit about this. So Rock and Hunter just disappear. It's all Taker and Austin. They go over and brawl to the van. Taker goes to throw Austin into the van. Austin reverses. He throws Taker into the van, and then he locks him inside. Wait.
That's good in theory.
Are there vans that you can be actually locked inside of? This seems like a terrible
Well,
idea.
here's the bad thing. When Steve Austin threw him in the back of the van,
Yeah.
he walks right past the open door
in the front of the van.
in the front of the van.
So, all right. So,
Well, you don't want someone stealing the blood. You
yeah.
got to be able to lock it from the outside.
So you lock the thief inside with the blood?
Well, you're just locking him in. You're asking, is there this makes no, what are you asking me?
How can you get locked inside a van?
It's,
This is not
You don't have the
Buffalo
blood to
Bill.
get out.
This is not... You know what, Brian? I hadn't thought of that. You don't want the blood to get out.
Right.
What a waste that would be if the blood escaped.
They could all start communicating and form a plan. And
The last thing we need is delinquent blood running the streets.
I'm delirious with heat.
So Austin goes to the ring.
Hadn't thought of that.
He gets his Smoking Skulls belt. He's very happy. Then he realizes Vince
Where'd
is...
that come from?
I don't know.
he got it last week, didn't he?
No. He wanted Vince to bring and Vince never did.
Yeah.
I just
right.
realized that. Where'd that belt come
Taker
from?
had it last
Taker
week.
had it, yeah.
I
Because
see.
Taker hit him with it last week. I guess Taker brought it out with him this week.
Okay.
I don't remember. But that was
In the driver's seat of the Bloodmobile?
We could ask the blood, I
hood
guess.
ornament. So Austin goes after Vince. Vince is in his wheelchair. Austin just punches him once, then lays him out with a belt. Vince gags his blood everywhere.
Hit a gusher.
He did, actually. And Vince, I didn't know what Austin signed, because he signed the contract last week, didn't he?
No, he never signed it.
Oh, well,
No, only Taker did.
he returned the favor here, signing the contract in Vince's blood.
I like that. Played off the week before.
Yeah.
Actually, something that made sense from week to week that they didn't forget about?
Yes.
I don't see that a lot.
They never showed the attorney gingerly taking the paperwork and
Putting on
No.
rubber gloves. And
yeah.
So Paul Bearer breaks Undertaker out of the truck with the blood. And now Undertaker's in the ring. He's beating up Austin. Now Austin's bleeding too.
There's blood everywhere.
There's blood everywhere.
Shouldn't have opened up that bloodmobile.
It's not.
Got out.
So Taker destroys him, and the last shot of this is the Undertaker's music is playing. He's standing there with a belt. He's the only one not bleeding. Meanwhile, down on the ground, lying almost on top of each other, are Vince McMahon bloody as hell and Steve Austin also bleeding, both destroyed. And I thought, this was, at the time, planned to be the very last Vince McMahon, Steve Austin segment on Raw ever.
Yeah.
What a perfect finish.
Yeah.
They destroyed each other.
Yep.
There was no winner and no loser. They're both done. That is awesome.
But, plans change.
Plans do change. But for judging this show on its own merits, that was a great finish.
I realize it cuts heel fairly fast, but they're doing a first blood match on the following Sunday.
6 days.
6 days later. It is imperative that Steve Austin not bleed. You know what I mean?
Yes.
He can't bleed. Or they just bullshit the finish or whatever. But here they are every week. They're busting this guy open on TV. Every single week. All the way up until 6 days before
Again,
the show.
this is not a live show, so he got busted open twice on this show.
I guess it would have been 2 weeks. So we had 2 weeks to heal.
That's also true.
That does make sense. But still.
Yeah,
Are you ready for your music, Vinny?
I suppose so.
You suppose so.
The finishes on this show were no finish in a dog collar match, 3 finishes in 3 minutes in a tag match, pin after a teased guitar shot in about a minute, pin after a chair shot from the outside, I guess a DQ for a nightstick shot in a match that never actually started, clean pin in a tag match, DQ in 3 minutes, DQ in the main event.
Boom. Excellent reporting, Vinny.
Thank you.
That's history right there that you're recapping. You know that? Children someday doing book reports will look back on the show to get the finishes report from you.
I hadn't thought of that.
You worked so hard on.
All right, WWF Monday Night Raw number 322, July 26th, 1999.
19 years ago.
19 years ago this week, in fact.
Could have been the week Craig cut his hair, actually.
It might have.
Now that I think about it.
Maybe the show sent him to a rage and he just grabbed the clippers.
Could have. Just like Raven. Just like Violent J did that one day.
Yes. So it was the night after Fully Loaded. They recap Steve Austin beating Undertaker in the first blood match thanks to interference from, of all people, X-Pac.
Yeah.
This is never really explained. And
Is anything?
No. And Austin, by the way, even though he won the first blood match, he still somehow ended up covered in blood.
Sure, yeah. His cut came open, I guess, after the match. Hey, you know what maybe one of the problems is with us watching all this old WWE? We don't actually watch the pay-per-views. Because apparently this was a really, really good pay-per-view.
If you're suggesting we watch pay-per-views, I'm going to watch.
I'm not suggesting it. I'm just pointing out that, like, apparently the pay-per-views are good, but this Raw show is bad.
I see.
Yes.
I had a comment somewhere in here where if you missed between Heat and the pay-per-view, if you missed those shows and only watched Raws, it feels like you missed a month.
Yeah, that's us every week here.
Okay.
That's your average viewer.
So we're here on Raw, and suddenly The Undertaker is beating up X-Pac backstage.
Because he interfered.
Because he interfered in the title match. They showed that. So,
All right.
okay, fine. Road Dogg, who is X-Pac's friend, tried to make the save, failed
badly.
miserably. The highlight of this beating the Undertaker delivered to Road Dogg was when he picked up the case of Hansen's energy drink, and Ross sort of mentioned, there's a case of Hansen's energy drink back there. Plug.
Anyone remember that?
I remember it vaguely.
I do not remember it at all.
I never had it, but
Like, there's a lot of this old stuff that they plug that I remember.
actually, there's a product plug we'll get to. I think it may have been on Nitro, but yes.
I do not remember Hansen's energy drink. Was it the band? Do you guys remember?
Yes, it was bop good.
I was going to say, is that why they wrote that song? They drank a lot of energy drink and just
I don't
scribbled
know.
down whatever
No,
came into their
that's their
minds?
name.
Mbop, you idiot.
Oh, I see.
Gosh.
So anyway, Road Dogg gets put through a table. Taker keeps beating up X-Pac. Kane comes sauntering out to make the save. Huge ovation as the Brothers of Destruction brawl. Everyone loves Kane. Jim Ross is going out of his mind. Kane, 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 right hands. Big Show comes out to Taker's aid. They double team Kane to death. Crowd is chanting for Austin, but they don't get him. And eventually, X-Pac's dead, Kane's dead, and The Undertaker and the Big Show have a gigantic handshake, and they leave together.
God, it was like I was watching modern day Raw. Everything on this show is about getting heat. That's all this show was. Babyface is laid out here. Babyface
Dicey,
laid out
yeah.
there. Babyface bleeding here. Babyface dead here. All night long. Babyface announcer beat up. It was incessant on this show. X-Pac sent out in an ambulance.
Yep. Vince McMahon, because of the stipulation the night before, where Austin won, is supposed to be banned from Raw forever.
He's leaving the company.
So he arrives in a limo.
Yep, limping.
Limping.
But he wasn't limping later.
He kind of was.
A little bit.
He is coming off the legit motorcycle wreck.
crash.
Yeah, so Kane, during the break, he's trying to help X-Pac to his feet, and X-Pac can't stand. And so Kane drops to his knees and does the biggest polar bear cry. Ah! They're talking about how is that better than my singing?
It was better than your singing.
Okay, good.
I'll give you that.
So they're talking about how it's an inhuman noise Kane made, and then X-Pac is loaded into an ambulance, and Kane follows it like a sad puppy. Like the ambulance starts to drive away, Kane seriously like walks toward it.
Yeah, you followed it like a lawyer.
Then he realizes he can't keep up with the ambulance, and he turns and storms off. They plugged a Shamrock Triple H match for later in the show with a months-old photo of Hunter. This made it so stark, so clear how his body has changed in 3 months, whatever it's been. Hardcore Holly comes out to be guest ring announcer.
Creatine just came out.
That may have been it. Yeah.
Actually, it was 5 years earlier, but anyway.
So he pie faces Tony Chimmel. He introduces Edge and Christian and buries them for being skinny. He introduces the Acolytes and buries them for being fat.
He's a ring announcer for this match.
Yeah.
It was never explained who gave him the ability to be the ring announcer.
He explained, I'm doing this because I can.
Yeah.
No one stopped him.
Yeah. Well, Vince is gone, so like who's in charge now?
No one's in charge. So here's everything that has happened to these teams since last week's Raw. The Acolytes regained the tag titles at the pay-per-view. Okay, fine. Edge won the Intercontinental title, but also lost the Intercontinental title after interference from Gangrel. But before that, or in between that, I guess, Gangrel on Heat interfered to help Christian win.
I'm lost.
Yeah. Now, as I'm trying to process all of that and put all those moving pieces in place in my mind, the announcers say, we just got word Ken Shamrock was hit by a car backstage. Can I just watch a wrestling show?
No, Vinny. What do you think you're watching here? NWA Crockett?
I clearly was not.
We're watching Monday Night Raw in 1999.
So Gangrel runs out. He pulls Christian away, leads him to the back.
There was a match going on, by the way. We should mention that because, like, we never actually talk about the wrestling because nothing ever happens.
The announcers weren't talking about the wrestling either. They were talking
it gets
about
worse
Shamrock.
later.
Yeah. So Edge is alone. The Acolytes hit him with an assisted powerbomb and pin him. Holly then says, I am the winner. He attacks the Acolytes. They kill him. And then Kane returns. He destroys Holly. He destroys Bradshaw. He destroys Farouk. He destroys Edge. And then he grabs his voice box gimmick and he cuts a promo.
You hurt Sean. You hurt me. Tonight, I'll hurt you.
That was it.
That's his fucking promo.
He has a voice box.
Even fucking Kane has to use a real name.
Sean, yes.
Dude, I hate this show. You know,
That's true. He said X-Pac was Sean. Why didn't he call Undertaker and Big Show Mark and Paul?
Well, you know, Vinny, how you do the finishes report?
I do.
You should have done the report of how many fucking times Kane came out on this show.
It was a lot.
And how many fucking times Triple H came out on this show.
Also a lot.
Like,
And sometimes, even when he didn't come out, other people used his music.
yes, I'm sick of this music.
Between My Time and whatever Kane's song was called here. We heard them a lot. Now, I will say this crowd was going batshit for Kane.
They were into Kane.
You forget this, and because Austin and Rock were around, and the drop-off from Austin and Rock to everyone else was huge, but Kane was a strong third on the babyface totem pole.
On this night.
For a few weeks now.
Well, 2 weeks, yeah. After that big hug.
That's true. The hug helped. Even before that. Anyway.
These fans like hugging. They like love and happiness.
The friends. Wrestling fans like friends.
That's right. What they don't give you anymore.
No. Everyone hates each other as a dick.
Except
On this show,
the
too.
one exception is Bailey and Sasha, who love each other, but everyone fucking hates the storyline. It's horrible, dude.
I believe you.
It's the worst storyline of all time.
All I know is I feel like you've been complaining about it since Bailey was in NXT.
Dude.
Maybe before that.
This will win the worst feud of 2018. I promise you. There's nothing close. It's horrific.
What if they just get back together and they're just friends until the end of the year?
I'll still vote for him.
Okay.
I will still, because then there was really not, the feud never even went anywhere.
You're telling me.
So they showed what happened to Shamrock.
Got ran over by a car.
He was watching X-Pac's ambulance drive away when Steve Blackman ran him over in a car.
Yeah.
Wouldn't get
And-
out of the way.
Where are the damn police?
Forget that for a second. These are not trained stuntmen. Especially, in this case, Blackman. Like, for what Shamrock had to do, he jumps up, he rolls in the hood of a car, the car stops, he rolls to the ground. Fine. What if Blackman had fucked up?
Well,
What if he hit the gas instead of the brakes?
Mashed the gas.
Shamrock's dead. Owen Hart died 2 months ago. And they're
do
still
you
doing
watch
shit.
this show, Vinny?
Yes.
Like on every show, there's something where somebody could have died.
Yes.
Including fans when they drive those goddamn big trucks in down the aisle.
We had no to all
There's
the time.
like an inch on each side.
So Shamrock did not die here. He was just beat up. And Blackman
You know those new
stoically
cars
drove away.
where they got sensors all around them? And like if you get too close in any direction,
That's true.
they start going nuts.
Yeah.
Can you imagine in 1999, fucking Austin driving in one of those things? It would have just been an incessant beeping.
There are cars that will slam on the brakes for you if something is
Yeah, nobody would have gone anywhere.
Steve Austin would have come down the ramp and the car would have stopped.
It would have stopped right there,
Stopped.
yeah.
Or Blackman here. He'd have tried to run Shamrock over and the car would have stopped.
Keep in mind,
Came would have walked over and beat his ass.
I think in like a few months, Rikishi runs over Steve Austin with a car.
Yeah.
He's out for months.
Yes.
And Shamrock's back later this evening.
That is also true.
I guess Rikishi had the weight behind the wheel. Added weight to the car. You
Yeah,
know,
I see. So hurt more.
because he's fat.
Right. Thanks, Brian.
Changed man.
No problem.
Vince was walking backstage.
That was his gimmick. His finish was, my ass is huge. I put it in your face. Am I wrong?
No, that
Okay.
that happened.
Just saying.
Vince was walking backstage, and then Austin was walking backstage. This was a segment.
Yeah. There's a lot of these. You probably missed like five.
These 4-second segments are just infuriating. So Vince comes out for a promo. He has no music. He's just doing a slow, silent walk to the ring. Says, I am not here to break a promise or breach a contract. I am here to honor a promise and a contract. I never lied to anyone, he said. But for the first time in my life last night, I failed. I was left prone in the ring, covered in sweat and beer after 2 devastating stunners, and I know that's not the way the fans want to remember Vince McMahon. So I've appeared tonight so you can remember me for who I am, a handsome, affluent entrepreneur who left his mark on each and every one of you. And he stands waiting for a chorus of boos, and they don't really come. So he's just there.
There's a smattering of applause, actually.
Really, yeah. So Austin comes out. Massive cheers for that. Vince says, deep down, we are just alike. To prove I'm the better man, I will offer you a handshake. And he sticks his hand out, and Steve Austin looks at him like an alien has just stepped off a UFO.
I loved when Vince put his hand out and he goes, put her there. Put her there.
Yeah.
Austin didn't want to put her there.
No. He told Vince to take his money and his power and shove him up their ass. A son of a bitch like Vince will never beat a son of a bitch like Austin. He called Vince into the ring.
Jim Ross.
He called Jim Ross into the ring. Asked him to sing a song for Vince.
You literally could hear them on the mic. It's like Steve goes, I want you to sing that goodbye song. I ain't singing this damn song.
Yeah.
He walks over and sits on the thing. And poor Jim Ross has to sing this damn song. He does not want to sing the song. He explains to the fans, without singing, we're going to sing, nah, 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 goodbye.
Oh, hell yeah.
Oh, hell
Goodbye.
yeah, goodbye. He's hoping they'll just start singing.
Yeah.
They don't.
No.
So
They need a
finally
leader.
he must sing.
Yeah. And they ignored his instructions. They sang it the traditional way, not oh, hell yeah.
Yes.
And so Vince and Austin flipped each other off one more time, and Austin drank some beer, and that was it.
I could not believe that they did not finish with a stunner.
How did this episode of television not end
I have no
with
idea.
Vince McMahon unconscious and just a case of beer?
I mean, obviously
on
we
top of it.
knew he was going to come back.
Yeah, but
Whether he thought he wasn't or not. But I mean, how do you write your character, if you're Vince McMahon, off this program without taking a stunner from Stone Cold Steve Austin?
and don't tell me he took 2 on the pay-per-view. That doesn't count.
What a massive misstep.
My favorite thing about this is the way Vince flips people off. It's like a 9-year-old that has found it for the first time.
It's true.
It's very precise.
It is very true. So Vince goes to his limo. Howard Finkel runs him down, tearfully says goodbye. Thank you for everything. And I love you. Vince growls at him to get the hell away. And he gets in the limo and leaves.
Poor Finkel.
Val Venus and Godfather versus Prince Albert and Draws in a street fight.
What? Can you tell me the history of draws and drag? Because apparently between last week and this week, he doesn't do it anymore.
There was
Did I
a
miss
segment
something?
a week or two ago when like Val tattooed Albert on the ass.
Sure.
This was a while ago, but yeah.
Well, at least I understand. Because when they first came out for the street fight, I thought, why are these two teams feuding? And then I remembered that.
And then 2 weeks ago, he had the hardcore
No one can remember any of
evening
this.
gown match with Al Snow.
There
Has
was
nothing to do
that,
with this.
yeah.
Yeah, but he's not in drag anymore.
So that was the payoff.
I guess.
He had a hardcore evening gown match with Al Snow and lost. So he thought, well, this dress thing ain't working for me. I'll go back to pants.
Well, you see, he's wacky and unpredictable.
So speaking of wacky and unpredictable, they're brawling in the crowd. The Godfather and Albert are. And who should attack the Godfather? Yes, but Vic Grimes,
Yeah.
a SoCal indie guy who showed up dressed all in white with long white braids, and he attacks Godfather and is quickly led away by security. As I recall, and it's been almost 20 years, so I could be in error, he was going to be Albert Andrade's drug dealer.
Cool.
His name was going to be Key, and they realized how terrible all of this was, and after this appearance, he was never seen on Raw again.
Can you imagine how terrible an idea must be for them not to do it on Raw in 1999? I can't even fathom it.
They did beaver cleavage several times.
They did. Hey, man, an update from last week. We were talking about the hose.
Yes, sir.
$500 a night minimum. So I guess if you were like a good-looking hoe, they might pay you even more. But they also got their transportation and their expenses paid for.
So they're doing better than a lot of guys on
That's
the show.
a hell of a gig.
Yes.
They brought in dozens of them sometimes, it seemed.
Yes.
So there was at least $2,000 worth of hoe
Yeah.
on this particular show.
Yes, they spent out the ass for those hoes.
So, moving on. That's all that happened in this match. Val pinned Albert with a top rope splash.
That's what happened.
Cole interviewed The Rock backstage.
This was very, very close to a modern-day Rock promo.
Yeah.
He doesn't quite have the poise that he has nowadays, but it was 95% there.
Yeah. I don't know what you want me to say. He was The Rock. It was great.
It was very, very good.
He made fun of Cole. He plugged his merchandise. He
Excellent.
said Triple H cheated to beat him in the strap match last night. He threatened to beat up Mr. Ass, threatened to beat up China, got the crowd to chant his name, bullied Cole, said his catchphrase. It was amazing. They introduced, in front of the live crowd over the house mic, Ben Stiller as the man who loves Deborah's puppies. That's how,
Kind of killed the gimmick there, didn't they?
I guess so.
You know, this Hunter guy, he's on his way to the title,
You think?
and they're shoving him down our throats.
Yes.
And I sort of feel a little sorry for him because he's so not The Rock or Steve Austin.
No.
This poor fucking guy's got to come out here and follow The Rock with a promo.
Yeah.
He comes out here, he does every Triple H promo you've ever seen. Nobody gives a shit about it.
Yeah.
It was kind of sad. But hey, they need a top heel.
He's doing his best.
He's their choice.
It's like it was a bad promo.
Wasn't bad, but I mean,
Yeah, it's not the Rock promo.
it's not The Rock, it's not McMahon, it's not Austin.
No. So China cuts a promo.
Well, his promo,
Oh, the content.
he says it's no longer about Rock or Vince, it's about me. He says, man on man, I can beat Steve Austin. I've been watching him for 6 months like a hawk. I've watched his every move. There aren't a lot of them. He vows to show him in the world that he is the game.
Yes.
I think this is the first time that he ever called himself the game.
It might be. First time I remember. This is the first time I really noticed when people are making fun of his promos, especially when today they make fun of his promos from back then. They always talk about how he drags out the vowel after the word.
Yes.
This is the first time I really noticed how
He does
often he did
it.
that. I am the game.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. He was doing it hardcore here. The game. Yes. So China cuts a promo. Says Rock does not have the balls to say anything to her face. So Rock comes out, but there's Mr. Ass.
Oh, God. Mr. Ass comes out. He's Mr. Ass, okay?
Right.
Not Billy Gunn.
No.
He's Mr. Ass.
He's not even badass Billy Gunn.
Sure.
He's Mr.
Jim
Ass.
Ross is so done with this stupid gimmick that now he just calls him Ass.
Ass in China, putting the boots to him.
Ass and China are dismantling The Rock. Remember that Jim Ross's Ass song?
Yes.
Fucking that was easy to make. He said ass 85 times on this show here. Ass and China are dismantling The Rock.
Did we mention Ass's clothing?
He's wearing see-through trunks
See-through booty shorts.
so you can see his thong.
Yeah.
Dude, this is his gimmick.
It is.
Like, this is how he wants to be remembered.
I guess so.
My ass.
Mr. Ass.
I think he borrowed the trunks from China.
I don't think China would have had the balls to wear those things.
So they beat up Rock, and they're leaving, but Rock gets to his feet and dares them to fight him in a handicap match later. So this challenge of a handicap match led into an actual handicap match between Kane, Taker, and Big Show.
Can you believe they're building a handicap match for the main event, right? Mm-hmm. So immediately afterwards, they book a handicap match with a bullshit DQ finish in 2 minutes.
Exactly.
And these fans kept watching the show.
Well,
Can you imagine?
No.
What's going on over there?
What? Who? What?
Someone just walked in.
They did?
Yeah, I hope something's...
Well, they're gone now.
Nothing's gone wrong.
As far as I know, well, we now know someone could walk in this room and stab me, and I had no idea they were there until the knife was in my back.
Where were you?
I don't know. I should watch this monitor over here more. I can see myself.
Don't do that.
All right.
You were staring at yourself the whole show on Sunday.
Sean.
Yeah. You were pulling an HBK.
All right. So...
For the only time in your life, I might add.
I did have a mullet once. So Kane hits him with a chair. It's not a DQ. And then Taker hits him with a chair. It is a DQ. They keep beating him up until Road Dogg comes out. Huge ovation, but then Big Show killed him. And then Taker and Show left them laying again. Second time on the
This
show.
Road Dogg has failed on 2 attempts at saving people.
And Kane has failed on 2 attempts of beating up Taker. Deborah's doing a photo shoot backstage when Jarrett makes her put on a jacket and come out for his interview. It is now 300 some hours to the millennium. And Jim Ross is sure to point out, for those of you not doing the math, that's 2 weeks, everybody.
God, is it really that close?
Yeah.
God, why did I think? I guess I thought it was right around the millennium because it was a millennium countdown.
I could have swore it was like 2 months of this countdown clock.
It felt like it went forever, but I remember the reveal being in August. Oh, let's see. So, as threatened, Jarrett came out for a promo.
Hey, this was one of the better things on the show.
This was fun. He brings Ben Stiller into the ring.
Ben Stiller acts like he doesn't want to hop the rail, but then he can't wait to get over it. Get in there and plug his movie.
He asks Ben, "Why have you come to Cleveland?" And Ben says, "I am here to see great wrestling, great wrestlers like yourself. Congratulations, by the way, for kicking Edge's ass last night." Jarrett's very pleased by this. He says, "You've got this superhero movie. Why am I not in it?" And so Ben goes over the characters and the actors in the movie, including Janine Garofalo and Pee Wee Herman. And he says, "We don't have a hero in Mystery Men powerful enough to be played by a man like you." Jeff's very, very happy about all this. He says, "Who is your favorite superstar?" And Ben says, "I've got 2, and they're the puppies." I love that Ben Stiller agreed to play an oversexed, pathetic, lonely horn dog to come on this show and plug his movie.
Get out of here.
He did.
You're shocked?
So,
why?
Because I don't think he really is.
This wasn't Obama.
No.
It was some dingbat that does comedy.
It was Ben Stiller. So Jarrett beat him up. Jarrett beats up the actor. He puts this skinny little man in a figure 4 leg lock, and Jim Ross says, "This is somewhat distasteful."
Let's talk about Ben Stiller doing the best job of anyone I've ever seen in the history of wrestling selling a figure 4 leg lock. Who has ever sold it better?
He was great.
Maybe Flair selling his own move,
Yeah.
but I can't think of many people better than him. He's screaming, he's grabbing his leg, he's flopping around like a fish. It was awesome.
It's like he's an actor.
So,
Yeah, most actors suck at this. It was good.
D'Lo Brown hits the ring, lays out Jarrett with the lowdown and the sky high, and that's that.
I liked it. It was fun.
It was a lot of
It's the
fun.
only good thing on the show.
It was a lot of fun. And the Rock promo.
That's right.
Hunter stormed into Austin's locker room.
Why?
I don't know. That's the whole thing.
I watched the whole show.
We never found out why.
I have no idea why he went in there.
No.
Austin's just in there watching on a monitor.
Yeah.
Drinking coffee.
We don't know what happened in the middle here. Ivory, who is still women's champion, came out. She said Nicole Bass is no longer...
Who else would have beaten her?
I had forgotten who. If you'd asked me who was champion of the show,
There's no other women.
it's her and Deborah. Sable's gone.
Basically, yeah.
Nicole Bass is gone, as we
Yep.
learned here, and Tori.
Yep.
So she said Nicole Bass is not good enough to stand by her anymore, so Nicole's gone. Challenged any woman to come fight her. He found a redhead in a skirt hit the ring. Now, I missed the show where Lita debuted as a hoe. Did she have her tattoos then?
I don't think this is
I don't
her.
think
This was not Lita.
I don't think so either.
Dude, when you saw Lita debut as a hoe, it was Lita.
Okay, well then.
There was no question
Well,
whatsoever.
this is definitely not Lita.
No.
Okay. So anyway, Tori beat her up, or Ivory beat
Hold
up
on,
this
Vinny.
woman.
This woman gets in the ring, and Ivory takes the championship belt, and she hit this girl so hard in the head with it.
Yep.
This crack rang through the entire building. I thought she killed her. How did you miss that?
I see a lot of belt shots.
Dude,
This was
it
a bad
was
one.
hard.
You're right. You're right.
They had a geek come down to carry her to the back.
There was so much going on in the show. I was trying to type it all down, and I couldn't write down everything.
Dude, that was the hardest headshot I've seen in a long time.
Yeah. And then she had a bulldog for good measure. So Tori runs out and brawls with Ivory, and referees separate them.
Can we talk about her brawl?
Can we talk about Tori running the ropes?
Tori runs out. That's all she did. She ran the ropes 3 times and
she-
hit Ivory every time. With just something.
She could have run the ropes 6 times with how many steps she was taking.
It was so bad. This Tori, I'm sure she's a nice girl. She was horrible. Absolutely dreadful in the ring.
She had cool music, though.
Thank you, Vinny. Dreadful. Do you hear me?
At this point in the show, everyone, Hunter stormed out of Austin's locker room.
Yeah.
Like 10 minutes had passed.
Maybe they're playing cribbage.
What was he doing in there?
We have no idea.
And we never found out.
I still don't know.
Al Snow is backstage being sad. A dog runs up and
no.
sniffs him and runs away.
It's Pepper.
It's Pepper.
Yep.
This goes badly. Triple H versus Ken Shamrock.
People still remember it, though.
Well, it led to a historically infamous match.
Yeah, but think of how many stupid things we see on the show that we've forgotten, or that we didn't remember happening, or we thought that it didn't happen, but it did happen, or all of this. Everybody remembers Pepper.
Oh, this happened.
God.
So, Triple H versus Ken Shamrock. Shamrock did not come out, so Hunter called him a puss.
A puss.
That's what he said.
Top guy, baby.
Got hit by a car. Come on.
Shamrock comes out in jeans with his ribs and arm taped. Hunter beats him up for a long time. Jim Ross says, Ken Shamrock will never submit. And so I did the research. At this point, Ken Shamrock has submitted once in UFC and 3 times in Pancrase, including twice to Minoru Suzuki.
Well, some of those were not real.
Oh, come on now. Found her to believe.
The best part of this whole thing was he was so pale.
That's what you got out of this?
Well, there's a point to this. I presume that I always thought he had a real tan, but he was so white on this show. Like, you're all taped up, you can't get a fake tan. Why was he so pale? But then he's bleeding all over and he's laying on the mat. It looks like a dead body. It actually ended up being very, very effective.
I see.
Yeah. He was so pale. I've never seen Ken Shamrock so pale. It was weird.
So, yes, Shamrock got beat up forever, bled from the mouth, ref stoppage finish. He can take no more, and the ref calls off the match. Now, if I was booking this, and I had to book a top guy for it to be a challenger for Stone Cold Steve Austin at SummerSlam, I might have had Ken Shamrock come out fully healthy and had this guy beat him up.
But he's got to be a coward, Vinny.
He's got to be a coward, and he's got to be so vicious.
Yes.
That's what they were going for. Cole attempted to interview Taker and Show.
That went wrong.
They called Kane some word that got bleeped. And think of all the words they call him that don't get bleeped.
I think he called him a pussy.
You may have.
He did.
No.
Yeah, because he was red. He called him like a big red pussy or something like
I'm
that.
going to go get that checked.
That's what he said.
They said the days of scary music were over and the days of Armageddon are upon us.
And literally, they're walking away, and more stuff happens.
The camera pans over. Test has laid out Pete Gas. This is a 2-hour show, everyone.
Ugh.
Test has laid out Pete Gas. He's beating him up with a pipe. Roddy and Joey Abs chase him away.
It's so weird because I think Test is the babyface.
Yes.
But like this madman with a fucking pipe is attacking Pete Gas, and his buddies are trying to save his life. I'm like, this is weird. I'm sympathetic towards the posse,
Sure.
not this long-haired creep with a metal pipe.
China and Mr. Ass versus The Rock.
It's just China and ass, Vinny.
China and
Let's
ass.
just get the mister out of here.
Hunter's on commentary trying so hard to sound like a badass, but Mr. Ass's theme song is playing over the speakers. It's just doing nobody any favors.
Dude,
The song is so terrible, it ruins everyone.
it's rock, ass, and China.
Sure.
Just think of the words. You're a guy on the street. It's the main event of Raw. China, rock, and ass. facing off against each other.
Okay.
Now, I don't know what happened in this match because all they focused on
Yes.
was fucking Triple H on commentary, ranting and raving and screaming and shouting and yelling at Jim Ross. I'm like, there's a goddamn match in the ring with The Rock. Not Essa Rios or whoever. The Rock is in there. And they keep cutting to the announcers because Hunter's yelling at Jim Ross for 15 minutes.
That's what happened. Did they, in the end, show the finish of this match at any point on
No!
TV? Okay, I just want to make sure I didn't miss it. So the match is going on, and Hunter's screaming and screaming, and Ross defies him somehow, and so Hunter punches him,
Yeah.
which brings Steve Austin with his music come charging into ringside. Austin and Hunter are brawling. There's a match going on in the ring. I swear to God, there's a brawl going on here and a brawl going on there, and suddenly Austin and Hunter have gone through a table, and I don't know how.
I have no idea
What
how they
happened?
went through the table.
And then the show ends. The match is still going on, as far as I can tell, right?
Well, I mean, they had extra attitude. I don't even think we had a finish
So-
there.
No, we didn't.
So the credits roll, and there's extra attitude, and I think, okay, we're gonna finish the match now.
This was
No,
No.
Rock is gone, China is gone, Ass is gone. It's just Hunter and Austin brawling for a long time. China returns to get stunned, and then Austin drinks some beer, and there's like 8 minutes of this.
Has there ever been a good extra attitude?
one.
Which one?
I can't remember. But it was good.
You make a strong
Thank you.
case.
Thank you, Craig.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been keeping track.
Rock's in there beating the shit out of China. And like,
that's weird.
she can't sell at all.
Yeah,
And
but
then she's beating the shit out of him, and he's selling so good for her.
Yes.
they went from not beating up the women to just beating up the women.
Well, her specifically, and
That's true.
yeah, and it's she used to be something special, and now the best that you can say is that
She's one of the guys.
she just fits in. She's just another wrestler, and not a very good one.
This was a terrible show. Are
Right.
you ready for the finisher report?
I am ready if you are.
Damn it, I'm not. All right, here we go.
The finishes on this show were pin after one vampire walked out on his partner,
I
Clean-
hate that.
clean pin in a tag team street fight, DQ in a handicap match, win via ref stoppage, and then no finish in the main event because it went long. Yes, that's it. 5 finishes, counting one that didn't happen, in a 2-hour show, and 3 of those matches went less than a minute. Or less than 2 minutes.
You know, the show, it was like an hour and 38 minutes or something like that, minus commercials. So they had a fucking long-ass overrun. They still couldn't finish it on time. Got to mention one thing, too. I'd forgotten to mention this when you talked about the street fight. This, which match was it? Was it the Acolytes?
No, it was the Albert and Draws.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah. So, it's Albert and Draws versus Godfather and Val Venus.
Mm-hmm.
They went out there. They're in their street clothes. It's billed as a street fight. They fight all over the place. And then Venus and Godfather won clean in the middle with their finishes. And the crowd cheered. Like, what a novel concept.
Yes.
You build a match, you delivered the match, you gave a finish, and everybody was happy. Is this that hard?
It's such a novelty. It was the only one on the show.
It was the only one on the show. It was the only happy thing on the entire show.